We're going to be making this seat belt buckle. So let's go back to our Blender file. Let's go to a new layer. Let's create a cube. So go to the Create tab, Create Cube, tab into Edit Mode, scale this down a little bit. We're going to want it to be shorter, so we're going to do S, Z, and make this a little shorter. We're also going to want to use a mirror modifier to make this a little easier, so press 1 on the number pad, do Control R, left click, right click, down the center, Z for wireframe, select the vertex here, B to box select, get the rest, delete, choose vertices, and add in the mirror modifier. Turn on clipping in this option. Towards the back, it kind of gets pulled down a bit, sort of like this, and I'm actually going to pull these down a bit too, just to make that a little smaller, and I'm going to pull back this part here to make it a bit longer, and then just adjust this as you see fit. Once you're happy with that, to add a little curvature to this, we're going to do Control R, mouse wheel up once, left click, right click. I'm going to select the vertices on the top and just bring it up slightly. The bottom is relatively flat, so we're just going to leave it relatively flat. Next, we're going to switch to face select. Select this face, do I to inset, B for the border option, and do a decent size inset, and then just bring this forward a bit. We're going to do the same on the back, but we're actually not going to bring it in the Y direction. We're just going to do I to inset, B for the border option, and do a small inset. And we actually want to bring it down some as well, because this one is actually a little bit lower than it is at the top. It's towards the bottom rather than towards the top. Next, what we want to do is hold Shift and select this face, so you should have these faces and these selected. Then do Delete and choose Faces. Switch to Vertex Select, Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click. You should have these two loops selected. Then do Shift Q or do Bridge Edge Loops, which is found right here. Next, we want to add in some bevels, so we're going to switch to Edge Select, and we're going to start selecting some edges that we want. So we want these edges here, and we want these going down across the bottom as well, so you want to have all these edges selected. And then do Control B, do a fairly good bevel here. Then we're also going to Alt right click and Alt and Shift right click, and then do a bevel here as well with Control B. Next, we're going to switch to Vertex Select, and we're going to select these two vertices here. Then we're going to do Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, F to make a face, S, Z, as scale it on the Z axis. And of course by face I meant edge, but just scale it down on the Z axis. We're going to turn off clipping for a second, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this out. Control L, then Control N, or actually go to Mesh, Normals, Flip Normals, and that will flip the normals. Turn on clipping again and bring this out some more. This is going to be this part of the buckle here. So you can make it a little skinnier if you want by doing S and then Z and bring it down. Then we're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring it forward. We're going to do Control R, left click, and drag it in this direction. Then we're going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, and just bring this down a bit more, and you can even bring these a little bit further down if you want. We can adjust this later to fit our actual model. Then we're going to Alt right click here, Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, F to make a face, and that's just going to fill in that area and make it look nicer. And in object mode, we're going to go to Tools and turn on Smooth Shading. Fix some of the shading here. We're going to do some bevels, so we're going to select the vertex, Control L, then switch to Edge Select, Alt and Shift right click, Alt and Shift right click again. Then we're going to do Control B, and that will help to make that look a little bit nicer. Next, we're going to make the button that fits in this area, so we're going to go back to Edit Mode, switch to Vertex Select, Alt right click, Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel. You can even bring this forward some. It's going to be moved forward some eventually anyway. Then we're going to do F to make a face, We're going to do Control R, left click and drag this down, Control R, left click and drag this over. Then we're going to switch to face select this face, do I then B and do a small inset here. We're going to do that again, do I then B, do another small inset, and then I and B one last time. Then we're going to do Control plus and we're going to drag these back. We're also going to do Control L and Control N to recalculate the normals, tab into object mode and turn on smooth shading. Next we're going to go back to edit mode, we're going to go to vertex select and alt right click on the outside here. If you want to, you can do Control L, Shift and H to hide everything else. Then just select the outside border by doing alt right click, alt and shift right click to get the rest of this. E to extrude, right click to cancel, and just bring this back to give it some depth. There may be some faces on the back, it looks like there's not, so I think we're all set there. You can, if you want to, do S, Y, and then 0, and then press enter to flatten it out on the Y axis. This part's going to be a hole, so we're going to go to face select this face, and do delete faces, and you can delete this one as well. Looks like we're going to need some more geometry here, so we're going to go to vertex select these two, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and then bring it back on the Y axis. Hold Control and snap it here. Then we're going to fill in this area by selecting these two and pressing F, so we now have that nice little area there. We can also take these here if we want and just pull them back slightly. Do Control R and add in a loop cut here. That will just help to correct the shading. And if you want this hole to be bigger or smaller, you can bring it upward or you can bring it in or out if you want to. I'm just going to bring mine up a bit because I think it probably needs to be a little bit larger in this direction. So just make sure you have all these vertices here, and you can move it up or down to be whatever size you'd like it to be. Then we're going to do Alt H to unhide everything, A to deselect. We're going to select this vertex, and we're going to do Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, turn off clipping, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this out some. Then we can do Alt right click and actually just bring this in slightly. And then do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this back some. Then we can do Alt right click, E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring it up some. Then select these front ones, these front top ones, and just bring them back to angle this a bit. And we can also bring these other ones back as well. And if we want to, we can probably delete the face that's on the bottom here by selecting it, doing delete, and choosing faces. Another thing I'm going to do is select these vertices here with Alt right click and just bring them back, and probably bring these back slightly too. I want this to be more of at an angle. So I'm just looking at this and trying to angle this a bit better. I think something like that looks fine. Let's turn on smooth shading again. To correct the shading here, we're going to select these vertex here, do Control L, switch to edge select, Alt and Shift right click. And it looks like we may have an interior face here, so I'm actually going to do Z for wireframe, switch to face select, select this face and delete it. Then go back to edge select, Alt right click. Actually do Control L, then Alt and Shift right click to deselect this. And do Control B to bevel this slightly. If you want to, you can also make this a bit wider. You can select the vertices on the outside and just bring it out and make this a bit wider. You can make it a bit shorter too if you'd like to make it a little shorter. I think one thing I want to do is actually move some of these out a bit more. So I think I want to take these and just actually move these out a bit more. I think I want this to be a bit further out so there's more of a diagonal here. And again, maybe just move these back some more just to make this diagonal a bit more prominent. And another thing I'm going to do is actually take all these front faces. You can even go to face select and just select the front faces and just bring them back some because I think they're probably forward a bit too much. Then to add this to our model, we're just going to do Shift-E to duplicate, right-click to cancel, M to move it to a new layer, select our second layer here because that's where the seat is. Then we're going to go to the seat layer, tab into edit mode, A twice. We actually need to apply the mirror modifier, so in object mode, click on apply, then go back to edit mode, and we're going to do RX -90, press enter, RZ 90 and press enter, and we can do S to scale this down and bring it over on the X and Y axis and just continue scaling it down and positioning it kind of in this little gap that we made earlier. Just scale it until you feel it's the appropriate size and position it somewhere that looks appropriate. Another thing I'm going to do is take these bottom vertices here and I'm going to bring these down, probably snap them to one of these bottom vertices here by holding Control, and then Alt right click on this and bring this down a little bit to better match the model. And I think maybe I'll bring these in slightly and then bring these in slightly some more until it matches up a little better with the model. And I think I want to bring the rest of it forward some, so I'm going to select these, do Control I, and just bring the rest of this in this direction a little bit. And then again bring these a bit forward. Something like that I think it's going to look okay. Then I'm going to do Control L and actually just do A twice. Another little detail we can add is kind of just angle this a bit. So if we do R then X, we can rotate this a little bit and that will look pretty good. So I'm liking this. We can also always move this to the other side for the seats that are on the other side of the bus. That's going to be pretty simple, so we'll just leave it like this for now and we'll go to File and Save. Thank you to our awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter yourself, head on over to patreon.com/StephenBrooks. Thank you for your support.